guys, it's the official Black Bee talking to you right now. And today's topic will be about my diagnosis story. I feel like that is something that I would like to share with you guys because I feel like, especially being a person that masks really well, took me a while until I got diagnosed. And when I meet other people who are on the spectrum or who are neurodivergent, who are women, most of the time they get diagnosed more later in their life because masking for women and masking for men are very different. So, let's talk about it. I would say that I've been diagnosed with, let me see so far. I think I was diagnosed with first, a reading disability. Not in, classified dyslexia. They're just, reading difficulty. And then slow processing disorder. And then they also put, social anxiety, high, I can't remember what it was called. It was, high social anxiety, but I think it was, called something else. And then they also put, I think they put 15 things on there when they really could just said autism. I'm sure I do still have dyslexia, but I would say that definitely when it comes to the situation related to how they diagnosed me when I first started showing up neurodivergent signs and all that, or symptoms, was definitely chaotic. They really wrote 15 different things on the paper, and then they were the usual thing. Oh, she can talk. She should be aight. Cause I'm very extroverted. I'm very I guess good at masking, and I can get a little more into that maybe in another video or in this video. But pretty much when it comes to my story, I would say it started out with the dyslexia thing and the slow processing disorders. I just want to let everybody know that I'm talking about specifically my story. I like to mention that because I feel like a lot of times when people are representing autism, they'll be like, well, the majority of or everybody, and I want you guys to know that I'm talking about mainly my experience and what I know of myself, and not as a broad topic. I mean, if you want to use this as a reference, or if you want to use it for research purposes, fine. But I would say at the end of the day, I'm only talking about my experience. Okay, so I would say the first part would be that when I was very young, this has to do with masking, but for a totally different thing other than autism. Alright, so the first thing would be that I remember when I was very, very, very young, I struggled with reading, but I didn't want anyone to know that. Actually, I had people think that I was reading at top level, thinking I was actually, I would say not an expert, but saying I was above my grade level, because I would be masking so hard. Just to clarify, I'm talking about my dyslexia diagnosis first. With the dyslexia thing, I guess a lot of times I would, first let me explain this. First, people thought I was amazing at reading. They thought I was above my grade level because I would memorize the books. Any book, if you gave it to me the day before, I would memorize it. And I was like, all right, I understand that this is how this person says this word when they're reading it, and then I memorized it and stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, right? I don't think I ever got caught up until someone got me a new book. And if it was a new book, I would just be like, nah. I think I got caught up, right, when I went to a museum. And the museum had a bunch of butterflies and stuff. I had the butterfly book. Now, I don't remember if this had pictures or not, but I'm assuming not. And I was reading it, and I think my mom read it to me before. So I sat there and I was like, all right, I'm gonna read this. I kid you not, I had the book upside down. I don't know how dyslexic I was back then, but I had the book upside down, and I was reading it perfectly. I was like, da 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 da, and my mom was like, oh, she can read upside down. And then my mom was like, actually, wait a minute. But that would be my first diagnosis, which was dyslexia. Well, that's one. Okay, two, slow processing disorder. I don't even know how that came to the picture.
Maybe it's because I struggled a lot with tying my shoes, having conversations, asking questions, making decisions. Some information would click right away, where other things would take me a long time to grasp or understand or to finish. So I was either far ahead or far behind.
I think also with the high anxiety, I would have a lot of anxiety when I was thinking about talking to people, interacting with people, breathing in people's directions. Oh my gosh, I can go over and over of just so many things. It's like the most weirdest thing ever. And it's just like, I think it's because I had the tendency to either overshare or just like, I don't know. I forget. I don't know what to talk about. I'm not really good with small talk. Like, it's just crazy. So I'd be sitting there like, this is not it. And I would just be having like my heart beating and my brain going fast. And I'd be like, this is not it. So I guess that's why they put down like high anxiety. Like they put like super super high anxiety. I think with the depression part, I think it was. I'm sure I got depression, but that's beside the point. I would say that when I was younger, I had like a bunch of photos when I was younger, right? I didn't really show that many emotions. Like people had to tell me to smile in photos. And like, yeah, you tell your kid that maybe at the first day, but they would have to tell me every single time. I have I think all the way up to like middle school. I think even a little in high school, I had people who had to tell me to smile in photos or to pose or to like look alive because I'd just be sitting there like, and honestly, it's I don't even know how to explain it. Like I have had people walk up to me and be like, "I think you don't like me," and I'm like, "Why?" They're like, "Because you look at me so blankly," and I'm like, "It's not that. It's not that. I do the same thing when opening presents. I have to like sometimes mask how I feel, because I can like a present lot still be like, this is nice, thanks." Right? When I actually now I have to be sitting there and be like, "Oh my guys, thank you so much. I'm gonna cry," and it's like, literally, yeah, that's how I feel. But then what I would naturally do in that situation is just, thank you so much. Or if it's something that's really attached to a hyperfixation of mine, hyperfixation of mine, or something I really, really enjoy, then you're gonna catch me walking around and jumping around, doing a bunch of random. I might just squeal. Well, I don't know. And also because I would be very quiet into myself and like not showing of emotions, having trouble with sleep and all that. They labeled it as depression. All right, now the last diagnosis I have gotten. So this took me a while to get. I think I had suspicions about it like a while ago though. I think I had suspicions about it because I was watching a PBS special. Yeah, a PBS special. And it was talking about this one kid that was autistic. And I'm not talking about the Elmo one. I really don't know the name of the show. If y'all know, please put in the comments. I've been looking for that episode so I can like quote it and just be like, look at this. This is how I first knew. And the kid has autism, right? And he's just kind of talking about his experience, whatever. It was a show that like talks about different kids' disabilities and whatever. It was actually pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. Literally, the kid and me, I just felt super similar to this character. So similar. And because of that, I always like, yeah, I probably have that. Once I finally gotten the resources to get diagnosed, thank you MRC. I would say that uh I'm not gonna lie. I kind of like BS'd on the test a little. I tell people this, but let me tell you why I BS'd a little. So the same test that they give you for not autism, even the same test that they give you for disabilities. I don't even know what it's for anymore. But I've been taking the same test since elementary school, and I memorized like 50% of it. Like there's a puzzle thing where you gotta put the. If you know, you know. But it's like the red and white puzzle. If you know, you know, right? And I feel like if you took in the test multiple times, if you know, you know. It's the same thing. I think the people that I actually like do it with, I tell them too. I'd be like, I want you to know I memorize all of them. So if you really want to sit there and look at them as I put them together, you can. And they'll be like wowed out by it. And all that. I feel like I was gonna go in there and be like, since I'm so high functioning, they're not even gonna notice anything. Not even because I was high functioning. Since I was more of like just masking super hard throughout my whole life, I was like, they're not gonna know. They're not gonna know. They're never gonna find out. And the thing that she evaluated me on was actually not the actual test I was taking, but actually like way I was acting during the test, which I didn't even know that was a thing. I was like bullshit. I'm trying to swear less. I was like BSing a bit with like not giving eye contact. I was like, if I just don't look at her, right? I already aced the test. I was being like that person. I was like, if I just don't look at her, then I already passed the test. But in this situation, I apparently was doing other things that I didn't even know I was doing. For example, she reported on the test that I went to go get hand sanitizer like every like 10 minutes. The test is like 3 hours, by the way. I didn't know I did that. And then I also, before I ate lunch, I like took a napkin with hand sanitizer and wiped down the whole entire table. And I proceeded also, when I had erasers, like, you know how you erase and it has little things on it? I would sweep it off and then I would pick off the rest. Like, I was just doing really specific things that I always do most of the time, and I didn't even notice that I was doing them. I was like, ooh. And then apparently, like, during break, I was spinning in my chair, but that was because I was bored and there wasn't much signal there, so I couldn't be on my phone. But I definitely was sitting there spinning in my chair. Like, every time she's like, get a break, I was like, all right. And then I was like, can I walk around the building? So I wanted to go do that too. And I think she reported everything I did that I thought was normal. And then I think I really tried when it came to the identifying face things. And apparently I was getting that super duper wrong. And it's like some weird test where you gotta I don't know, you gotta just read people's eyes and tell how someone feels. And I was like, how in the world am I gonna do that? But I was like, all right, fine. I did it anyways. And I sat there and I was like, this is gonna be easy. This is easy. I don't know what this has to do with autism. Whatever, fine. Just read the eyes. I was like, fine. So I was doing that and I failed that test so horribly. I also failed pairing faces to emotions, where it was like full faces to emotions. Then there was like some random I'm not gonna go too much in detail, but there was like different tests, right? And everything that I actually tried on, I failed, right? And B, not making eye contact was one of the things that wasn't reported on there, which I thought was hilarious. It probably started out with like me talking about like my hyperfixation, which has to do with like psychology and mental health and neurodivergency and body language. So I'm sure she probably picked up on that and was like, let me watch her a little closer, because if she's really trying to like, not saying if I was really trying to sit there and get like a false diagnosis, then it would be picked up, I guess. I don't think I have ever tried to really get a fake diagnosis, but in that one case, I definitely avoided eye contact on purpose. Um, but I think usually what I do on my normal, when I'm not thinking about it, I was there for like 3 hours and then 2 hours for another session. I usually stare people straight in the eye to an uncomfortable level. If I don't look you in the eye, it's because I'm probably listening. But if I'm talking to someone, I stare into their soul. Like, I think it's sometimes weird when I'm staring at someone and talking, and the whole time they're like talking, and then they look away and then talking, and then looking away and then talking. Where I will do that to masks, but my normal response is just, and it's just, that's just how I am. So at the end of the day, when it comes to that situation, I got diagnosed with the autism and stuff off of things that I didn't even know I did. It was wild. And the questions they were asking, I had to ask for clarification. I think there was one, I don't remember the rest of it, but I think there was one where it's like, if you see an envelope on the floor, what are you gonna do? And I sat there and I was like, where am I? And she's like, what? I was like, where am I? Where's the envelope on the floor? What's the shape of the envelope? Does the envelope have my name on it? I was asking so many questions, and she's like, it's just an envelope. And I'm like, where? And she's like, it's just like, imagine a white box. I'm like, well, it depends why I'm in the white box, so why I'm gonna open the envelope. And if it's closed, and if I was at home, then it's my envelope, probably, if it has my name on it. And I just went to a whole like thought process along the lines of a envelope. You know what I mean? I don't remember. I just went off, but I just went to a rant, and I think that's probably why she was like, you kind of went into a tangent. There you go, a tangent. I go into tangents a lot, and literally, she was like, yeah, that's why. Now, when it comes down to that diagnosis, personally, I feel that I may have some OCD or ADHD tendencies. This was personally before I went to go do the appointment, but I really was like, maybe it's just autism, and I'm just kind of like mixed diagnosing myself. Because when it comes to self diagnosis, I get worried sometimes because, like, I don't want to like accidentally misdiagnose myself. I can go into so much detail about that. But they were like, okay, she has autism. They also wrote on the paperwork tendencies, OCD, and ADHD. I was like, I didn't know that was a thing. And they were like, yeah. I mean, these are tendencies. But honestly, if you wanted, you can get diagnosed for them. It just would be by a different center because they specialize specifically in autism. I thought about checking it out, but I feel like personally, after the whole process of getting diagnosed with autism at 18, I was like, I don't know if I want to sit here and wait for 18 more years to get diagnosed with other things. So I think maybe one day I'll look into it, but personally, I think I'm just happy with it being kind of like a self-diagnosis. Then, I mean, I like to say that I self-diagnose myself with like some other things that I'll probably like speak on a little later and stuff. For now, that's kind of like my diagnosis story. I think I want to share that with you guys because a lot of times I'll talk about different types of like mental health, or I'll talk about different types of neurodivergencies and stuff. And I just want you guys to know that, like, I understand. I think at the end of the day, I want to share my story a bit, and I like sharing my stories with you guys. And I thought about it the other day, and I was like, this is a great topic to speak on for one of my first videos. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed. And have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys soon. God bless, peace out, and subscribe for more. Something like that.